Okay, welcome back to AATV. I'm your host Tom Anvil Hibberd, and today we're at Thurliston Airgun and Archery Centre to have a look at 3 different recoil guns, how they operate, what it's like to use them, and how does that recoil feel. Okay, so we've brought 3 recoil guns out today to have a look at. So we're not going to range test them on the 100-yard range at Thurliston. We're going to use the attack sense targets, do some fun drills, just to see how they handle, how the recoil feels, etc. So the 3 guns we've got today are GBLS UK have very kindly lent me a GBLS DAS GDR 15 on a long-term review. So I've got this for a few months, put it through its paces here on the range, and also we'll get some games in with it. So this is a AEG, but it's almost a hybrid. So some of the elements quite like a gas blowback, and we'll go through those as we use it. We've got the channel's trusty Marui NGRS Mark 18. We've spent a lot of time on this, but really interesting comparison to the other 2 guns. This is a Recoil AEG. And then finally, we've got our GHK L119A2 that we built up. This is a full gas blowback recoil, so we'll see what this is like to use. So we're going to look at ease of loading, how you power them, how you gas them up, how you battery them, and what they're like to use and how the triggers feel. Alright, so we're just going down to have a look at our attack sense targets. I've got 3 set up right now, and we're going to do a 1 to 5 drill. I've custom programmed that using the attack sense tablet and software. So the drill runs, we need to do 1 shot on the first target, 2 shots on the second, 3 shots on the third, coming back, 4 shots and 5 shots to finish. And the target will only turn itself off and move on to the next target when I've made that number of shots. So one of the things we're not going to do today is put the guns against each other in terms of timing. They've got different accessories and different sights on. I just want to see how they feel, what it's like reloading, what it's like using the magazines, and what the trigger feels like. Okay, let's go to the firing line. Okay, so we're going to try a 1 to 5 drill with the Marui. See how we go on. Feels like a Marui at the moment, so very difficult to compare it, but everything works just like we used to. Let's try one of the other rifles and see how we go on. So GBLS DAS GDR 15. It's going to be a bit slow at the muzzle because I've got a bipod on, but again, we're not going for time, we're just going to see what it's like to operate. So to load these, magazine well in as normal, tug, and then you actually, first round, just like on a real rifle or on a gas rifle, you need to cock it. Right, so we'll do that again, 1 to 5 drill, using the GDR. Let's get power on. So definitely a harder kick on this than the Marui. Trigger is much more feeling the trigger because it's basically a mechanical trigger which releases the spring, so you can really feel the trigger working. So in the Marui, the only real sensation you get when it fires is the gun actually working, whereas this you can really feel the trigger moving, which is really quite nice. Right, let's do that again. Selector on these is really nice. Feels like you're moving something mechanical. It's nice to just flick it into position. Okay, and then so the mag's out and bolts lock back like you would on a real rifle or on a gas blowback, and I could feel the difference between a shot being fired and it going back into battery at the front, and that last shot I could feel it locking back, which was really nice. So what we'll do is we'll do a reload the mag, And then on this side, we've got the standard bolt release on an AR. And when this goes home and chambers around. Let's do one more with this and then we'll switch to GHK. Right, GHK time. Fun. So you don't notice these do have a bit of a notoriously stiff trigger. When you're actually doing something, you don't really notice it. And what you do is you get a really positive trigger reset. Okay, and then this also has a bolt that moves back and forward, and we need to cock it before we can fire it. This optic's miles off. Okay, very different. Recoil's more immediate and harder, so this is the hardest kicking out of the three, and the recoil's very different from both of them. Both of the other two have an element of a forward motion and a rearward motion at the same time. This really just kicks hard back. So El Presidente drill, you face away from the targets. I'm going to make sure my safety is on at all times. There is no one around us actually, so we're pretty fine here. So you stay off the trigger, off the safety until you turn and face the targets. You engage each target with a double tap. You reload and engage each target again with a double tap. Okay. Okay. So it's a bit lacking in mechanical feedback with the trigger and the selector and the reload. There's no thunks and clicks and kind of, you can't feel things moving inside the gun. It does just work though, which is a bit of a bonus. So let's do the DAS. Alright, so back to the DAS. Sort of the hybrid electric gas blowback. Some gas blowback mechanisms and functions, but it runs on electricity. So let's do the same drill using this rifle. Selector's very positive, bolts very positive, everything's just very kind of positive and mechanical and you can feel it moving. The recoil is still a little bit feels like stutter. You still get much harder kick than you do the Marui, but you still get the same kind of forward back motion rather than a straight back blow back. Yeah, we'll run that again. I actually ran out of BBs right at the right time there. It actually went dry, luckily, right on the right point, on the first end of the first string, but I knew the bolt had locked back. I could feel it. Difference in noise and a difference in the feeling of the recoil. It's cool. So El Presidente again, using the L119A2, fully gas blowback rifle. Okay, one more with this. Okay, so this one is box drill. So we've got 2 sets of targets out there with a centre mass target and a precision target. We're going to put 2 into each of the centre mass targets and then go back the other way, putting 1 shot into the precision targets. Hey! So we've got the drill working in the end, a bit of fiddling in the app. Yeah, it's very difficult to kind of comment because it's almost the benchmark. You know, it works. There's a bit of a movement. Everything doesn't feel quite as mechanical as we've talked about before. You don't get that mechanical release on the bolt. You don't get that. The selector's a bit more wishy-washy just because it's not fully mechanical. But it is lovely to use. And there's enough feedback that you know you're doing something. Do another round. Okay. Crisp. I like the trigger actually. I like the trigger quite a lot. If there's kind of rapid pairs, it's really nice. Bang, click, bang, click. It's definitely more of a feeling that you're doing something and that you're making it happen rather than the electronics. It's really interesting. Putting the 3 back to back. Okay, so we're going to mag up. Now, Airsoft being Airsoft, each of our 3 guns has a different magazine. So we've got Marui NGRS, low mid caps. We've got the proprietary GBLS DAS magazine. And then I've also got the proprietary gas magazine for my GHK. So let's have a look at the differences. So one of the nice things about the Marui mag, you can use an Odin speed loader. If you hold it down, you can just load it conventionally. So we'll just whiz through those. So that was nice and easy. Unfortunately, it's not going to be quite as simple for the other 2 magazines. So this is the mag for the GBLS. Nice kind of grippy coating to it. These load very much like a gas blowback magazine through the feed lips itself. So in my left hand is the GBLS mag, and in my right hand is the GHK mag. You can see actually the feed lips are quite similar, although the gas mag has the port here where the gas comes out, and then you've got the valve on the back. But feed lip wise, they're pretty similar, so we have to load them through the top. It's not quite as easy as just ramming them in like you do with the Marui. And then these are both a bit more picky about ammo. For both the DAS and the GHK, really you need a really hard BB. There isn't really a place for these to go in. However, I have this little adapter here that GHK sell with their magazines. So we're going to use this to help us in. And just like in the GHK, so that goes over the top of the feed lips, and then we squirt BBs in. It is a bit more of a faff. And if you're a high cap user, it's definitely more of a faff than loading a high cap. So if you expect to be firing a lot of shots, it's probably not the platform for you. GHK gas mag, obviously we're also going to have to put some gas in. Now there is some gas in here, not quite so much. I'm just going to do a little top up with just 2 1-second bursts. Two hours later. When using your adapter, don't put it on horizontally like this. You actually want it at a bit of an angle, about 30 degrees, okay? If you do that, you can crack your feed lips. If you do that, it allows it to load a bit easier. 30-degree angle, load. They should go in fairly easily. If you're having to force the BBs in, then something is wrong and you'll crack the feed lips. That will cause double feeds, and then you'll break your hop like I did. True story. And a lot of platforms do have a proprietary magazine, and that can add up. So in case of the Maruis, they're about 25 quid each. I need to check the price on these, but I don't imagine they're cheap. And the GHKs are approaching £60 each. The cameraman has just raised her eyebrows at me, and we are finally loaded.
What are we?
We're loaded.
Are we loaded?
Yeah, well, you're loaded, I'm not. So we had a really good day shooting here at Thurleston Airgun and Archery Centre using our Attack Sense electronic targets with our custom drills. And we've been shooting our 3 recoil guns. What do I think? Well, I'm going to keep testing them for a bit longer. However, some interesting stuff. The Marui is obviously really easy to use and load. It's an electric gun. The mags are easy to use. Simple. It does a bit of recoil, not loads. And when it stops firing, but there's no real mechanical impulse to it. The GBLS is an electric gun, but it does have more recoil than the Marui. The trigger is mechanical and has much more feel. And when the bolt locks back, when it's out of BBs, you can really feel it. And that was almost the best bit for me with this one. Really enjoyed firing that as well. And then the GHK probably had the most recoil, most direct recoil into the shoulder, as it's a gas blowback. Obviously it's fully mechanical operation, and so you can feel all the clicks and bangs and whizzes, but it is a complete pain to gas up and load the magazines for. So I'm going to carry on testing these 3 guns against each other. I think the next time we're going to go to a skirmish game and see what it's like to actually play with them. I've been Tom Anvil Hibberd for AATV here at Thurleston Airgun and Archery Centre. If you want to help support this channel, we have a Patreon scheme, or you can buy one of our fantastic t-shirts from our Teespring store. Most importantly, stay safe, and we'll see you soon.